He's one of us. Naylor Accounting Services. He's a legend beyond his own lunchtime. He's going to be talking to us about how much we charge clients. Is it right? Is it enough? The answers to all this and more, delivered once Nikolai Naylor gets to the stage.
Thank you, everyone. This is going to be interactive, so it is after lunch, but we're going to go through a lot of stuff to start with, and then you're all going to be working together, basically. So make sure I've got tea or coffee, whatever, so you can actually get it all flowing. So we're going to talk about how much you charge for clients, but what I want to be looking for this, just do this, is the first, just so who I am, just in case you don't know. This is my name, Nikolai Naylor, and I have my own accounting firm, and I've had that since 2011. I've grown Naylor Accountancy, and also we've got Intelligent Outsourcing, which I've done since 2016, and I've got a book, The Firm You Want, which I've got about 5 copies here, so anybody can have those for free. They are on Amazon and Kindle as well, but please do just come up and get them at the end if you would like them. It's all about your firm you want, it's not about pricing at all, so it's nothing to do. I was asked to do this, it's not a thing I've written about yet. So, thought of the day. Most of webinars and stuff, I love starting with thought of the day. I love quotes as well, so if you do look at my book, there's loads of quotes in there. So this one is by McKinsey & Co. It's pricing is by far the biggest tool for earnings improvement. And it's a big thing to think about, because if you're not pricing right, you're not going to make any money as a profit. You'll just make revenue. But that's something we'll go and look at, some strategies and stuff and problems. When we all, so I'll start with the agenda. So we've got 7 pricing mistakes. So always look at anything, in my opinion, it's best to look at the mistakes you make and people make. Because if you know the mistakes, you know what to do right. So, or not what not to do. So then it's like the opposite. So we talk about 7 mistakes. And if you don't get at least 1 or 2 of them yourself, I'll be gobsmacked, because I've got probably every single one of those throughout doing my practice. Then the 5 compliance services, just very briefly what we're going to be covering in this is the survey. So some of you guys have actually filled in a survey, so that's what we're going to be talking about. You'll be seeing it on the screen, there will be on the slides as well, but then that's what you talk about in your groups, and talk about the pricing that you guys do, what you think about how it should be and stuff, and look at the strategies as well. Then there's going to be 8 strategies of pricing. So just 8 that we'll talk about. I'm going to go through it very quickly because I really want you to spend time in your tables. And then checking prices. This is something that most people forget to do because they're time poor. And then the power of compounding. And I'll go into that more then. And then insights just from pricing surveys. That's where you'll get together. And then there'll be some Q&As after the group discussion. And then we'll be ending. And just with key takeaways. So, 7 mistakes. So the first one that I'm going to start with is invoice negligence. That means you don't invoice, you forget to invoice. And you all laugh. I bet you've done it already, haven't you? Yeah. And I've done it. But I bought an accountancy firm back in 2011, 2021. I didn't even start until 2012. But with that, when we were doing the year-end accounts, we found that they hadn't actually invoiced for like 1 or 2 years back. They'd been working really hard, stressed, and they hadn't invoiced. We were telling them to invoice clients. In the end, I said, don't stop telling them to invoice, because it was virtually every single one. Because if they hadn't invoiced them, we were then invoicing them again for our accounts, because they were doing it on an annual basis. So we were finishing the accounts, realising that we didn't want them to get hit by 2 invoices, because then they're probably not going to pay ours. So, but they hadn't done it, but they were stressed, and that's the reason why they sold their practice. So negligence. And I don't know if you guys have plumbers and stuff, or tradesmen. They're really bad at invoicing you. So make sure you invoice straight away. Oh, well, this is a mistake anyway. So procrastination in invoicing. So that just means you're not sure what to invoice, and you're taking your time in it as well. Personal relationship dilemmas. Now, I've had this in one of my groups where they weren't sure whether to take on a family member and a friend. In my opinion, you can, and it's not a problem, but the mistake that people make is they don't want to charge them, or they want to charge him a makes rate and everything like that. You've got to be careful because you want to be making sure that you're making enough margin for whatever price you're charging. And you want to, the big thing here is you need to be saying, look, I want to treat you like a professional, so I'm going to treat you and charge you the same as a professional would. Cost coverage error. I mean, this is a big one where you get a fee scope creep and everything, so you end up paying doing more work than you actually charge for. Then you feel bad talking to the client about it, and that's happened so many times for me and for the business. Then uncompensated services. Those are things that you think, and this is, I've had it with my team. So they say, well, it only takes me 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So if it takes them 5 minutes, but the problem is they're forgetting about the email, they're forgetting about the phone call, they've forgotten about chasing of them, and also the knowledge that they've got, the expertise that they have, because they've got all this expertise, but they're not managing it. So I have one particular team member who's like this because he's so efficient at doing everything that he doesn't like charging, but we keep sort of having to say you need to charge for it because after all, we have to pay your salary as well at the end of the day. And then skill undervaluation, which just comes into that thing as well. So you're not valuing your skill. So that means that you've worked, get your CIMA, you've done CIMA, you've done whatever else you've done as well, and then you're not valuing that. There is a value to that because that's a big it's a big thing. All the education that you've got, they don't have that. Even with ChatGPT, yes, you can Google things and work out things, but you don't know if it's actually right and how you need to put it into their business and everything like that. And then fee review negligence. Now this is something I did for a long time. So you might have not reviewed your fees for 10 years, or 5 years, or 3 years, or whatever. So you're still charging the same fee. They might have come in at 50 grand as a turnover, and now they're 250, and they might suddenly have 10 team members. So you've suddenly got a bigger piece of work, and you're still charging them for that one team member sole trade at 50 grand. I'm sure there's some people still doing that here. So service covered. So these are the ones we're going to cover. This is what we covered in the survey. So it's year-end accounts, VAT, bookkeeping, payroll, self-assessment. I'm not going to go into them because I'm assuming you all know what they are. So 8 strategies. So I've got 8 here. There's obviously more, but these are just very, very briefly going into them. The first one is hourly rates. So some people charge hourly rate. That's the old school way. You might still be doing it on certain things because you don't know how long it's going to take a piece of work. We still do that on certain pieces of work. Otherwise you have a fixed fee, which is the next one actually. So fixed fees. So fixed fees is the other one. Obviously you have a fixed fee. You might have it monthly, annually, whatever that is. It just depends on what you do. Monthly is great because it obviously gets that monthly income coming in and you don't have cash flow issues, it just comes through very easily. Annual, you've got to chase them and it's a bigger amount to pay them as well. They've got to pay, sorry. So value-based pricing, I don't know if any of you know Mark Wicksham, I know Kim does, but he's very much into value pricing, so you sort of look at the value it's given. So if you've got an R&D return, you say you charge 20%, 18%, whatever that is, of the tax you get back from them. So you actually doing a value pricing, or you might say the value of this is X, so I want to charge 10% of it or something like that. That's just a very brief one. Then service bundling. So you might have your payroll, year-end accounts, self-assessment, all bundled in one. So you might have different packages, the gold, silver, bronze, or whatever like that. So you might be bundling that. We did that for a while, but then we changed it back, but only because it was more difficult to put them up. There's different ins and outs of it. So monthly billing. So I've talked about that briefly. Rather than annual billing, monthly. So you're actually getting it coming in all the time by direct debit, preferably as well. So you're not chasing. So you're not wasting that time chasing them with getting paid. So I don't know about you, sometimes we have credit control can be a nightmare if you've got quite a few annual accounts going out at once. So we don't like that so much, we like monthly direct debits. Well, people don't tend to want to put on direct debits if they're annual because it's suddenly a big amount and they may not put the money there aside from them. So the annual billing is the other one, which most people tend to do. When we're going to do acquisitions, most people tend to still be annual billing with a few monthly. So we look to have a plan to move month to monthly because it's just far easier for us. And we also sell it to the client in that it's, they can manage their expenses because it's just a monthly amount, so it's a lot less than a big chunky bill at the end. And some people have minimum, so Simon here, he definitely has a minimum threshold. I think Kim, you might have a minimum threshold as well. So that means like you might have £2,000. So if you want to take on any client, unless they have £2,000 worth of fees or more. So a lot of people do that. And I think Simon's is 2,500 or something for Greenstones, but I can't quite remember. Simon Chaplin, who was on earlier, by the way, so when I say Simon. And combined monthly and annual. So we do have combined monthly and annual, so that's mainly because of acquisition and what we've actually got through acquisitions, because they are annual and it's not always easy to put them onto monthly because they don't want to, even though we try to keep moving them forward. 8 strategies there. I want you to just bear these in mind, because when you're going in your groups in a minute, well, when we get through to the survey, I want you to be thinking those strategies. Look at who's doing different things within your groups as well, and then see if you want to be thinking about other things as well that you aren't doing. And you might do a combo of things as well, so think of those, and also your mistakes as well. Checking prices. Now, this is something most people don't do, and the reason is lack of time, because you're all business owners, and business owners, we don't have time. We're so time poor, which is why the productivity one was great. But with all that, what that means is you are losing income because you probably aren't charging the right fees because you're not looking at everything, or you haven't got a process in place. So regular price reviews is a really good thing to do. Obviously, year ends, you should be doing it on your annual fees just to make sure your annual fees are exactly the right for the year-end account. You've got your monthly payroll, so make sure that somebody, I know it may not be that much extra, but you can actually increase it when you do more pay slips, unless it's in a package and you've got a package like that. So we do all this through admin, so our admin does this, apart from the annual review. The annual review's done by the client manager, the accountant. Establishing that process, one thing you can do, say if you've got bookkeeping, do a quarterly review of transactions or however many hours they're done. Well, if it's hourly, it's easy because you just charge an hourly, but if you're doing it by a package, which we do the transactions in the quarter, the average per monthly one, and then we'll increase it or potentially decrease it, but it tends to always be going up, or we just keep it as it is. So then we increase it with the client on their monthly fees, basically, because bookkeeping should always be monthly. Client fee analysis. What that means is, you look at the client fee, the total client fee potentially, and then you look at the number of hours, if you've got the hours. Even if you're not doing a payment on the hours, you might be recording the hours just to know if you're paying the charging right amount. So client fee analysis is really useful because you can see if you're only getting £7.50 an hour for a client, then you've got to increase it. Or if there was an issue with HMRC, because we've had this, there's been a big issue with HMRC we've had to sort, but actually it was Nest, and they had loads of hours with the regulator, the pension regulator. So it was really bad, and we were saying, look, we need to increase it, and the client manager says, this is the one that always says it only takes 5 minutes, that I don't charge it. He was saying, no, let's not do that, because it's going to go less. So we said, okay, let's wait and see what it is on the time frame and that cost. Going forward, because he had increased his fee anyway, just on the work that he was doing. But the client fee analysis is something I would do on a regular basis, even if it's just 6 monthly, annually, but just do that as well. But it's just getting it, if you can do that hours over if you've got that, just get your team or you just to look at the hours per client, then you can just do it on a very big, broad basis and then have a look at that and see if it's worthwhile doing the job. So for me, you guys should be earning £35 plus in what you do, but it all depends what you guys are looking for. Client communication. Any price rise, you need to communicate nicely to your clients, but you need to also be firm that it's going up. So when we've got transactions increase in bookkeeping, when I first started doing this, we had one that was going up from about £100 to £500 a month, So it's a big so this was us not reviewing stuff and starting on a low fee, and then it goes up. So I did all the analysis of all the transactions that we did. I mean, I don't do this now, someone else does this. And then I went to them and I thought, well, no, they're not going to accept this, not going to accept it. But they did, because we had a whole reason behind it. We had a plan, and I was worried. I was really worried. I couldn't sleep at night, and it happened to two clients. And then we actually got the fee rises, so it actually was worth it. And they realised it was worthwhile because they knew the value they were getting. So they just got it cheap for a long time, basically. A lot of things I've learned from mistakes, and I'm sure you guys learn from mistakes as well. So, the power of compounding. Now, this, I love that bit on the slide, but this is massive, and it's something I neglected for a long time. So with this, I'm just showing you, if you're not compounding, so if you're not increasing your fees by at least inflation every year, you're losing money, because your costs are going up. Make sure you're doing it, and you can do it above inflation, but don't go crazy. but you can do it above. So just have a look at this on the 3%. I've done it on 1K to start off with. So with the 1K, the reason I've done that is just to show that a client is not going to worry about £30 extra a month, a year. So they're not going to worry about that on a £1,000 fee. But we worry about giving them a pay rise, an inflation rate rise. But that would impact you over 7 years. And I've used 7 years for a very good reason. The average life of a client now is 7 years. It used to be, I think, 10 years, but it's going down because they're getting a bit more fickle, or the business have gone bust before. So that's why you get actually 229 per client. That's on a 3%. You can probably do more than 3%, but that's sort of where it looks like inflation is now. If you do 50 grand, it's 11,000 a year and 1,500 a year extra. If you've got salaries that you're going up by inflation, you need, for your team members, you need to be paying them more anyway, so you need to make sure it's at least going up by what you're paying them. So you want that in there. And then if it's 75k, it's 2,250 the first year, and then it's 17 grand. So it's a lot of money. So compounding is really important to realise and make sure you do it. Because I didn't do this for years. I think I only started the inflation rate rise I'm sad to say 3 or 4 years ago, very, very recently, because I didn't have the bandwidth to do it. Now it just happens every year. We get an email going out, and we just increase it. We don't have a conversation verbally with them, but we get an email going out to everybody. So compounding. If that's just one takeaway you're not doing it, look at that. So insights from the pricing. So we're going to look at the pricing now, but we're going to get into tables. So we had 17 respondents, yeah. So it's okay. It's not brilliant, but it is good. We've got a good set of data from it. I think 2 of them were not applicable to these services, and then there was some in and out. So it depended what information they gave on it. So what we're going to do in a minute, make sure you're in a table of at least 4. If not, just join the table. I can see you right at the back there. If you join Blair next door. And if you just make sure you're on the tables. What I want to do, so if you have a look at this we're just going to start with year-end accounts, so pricing. So this is the range that we had. We had 350 to 2,000. That's a massive range. But you have, so we had 3 at £500 or less for a set of accounts. We had 4 between 600 to 800, and 4 at 1,000. And then there's 1 up to 2,000. That's for 50 grand. And then here, up to 100k, it was 500 to 2,000. So the majority was, we had 4 between 500 and 750, and then 800 and 1,000, 3 at 1,200, and then you had 2 between 1 and 2, yeah? The big one here is 700 to 2,000, but I think it might even be more than 2,000 in some places, depending on the complexity. But you've got 700 it starts at, and then you've got the big one here is between 1,000 and 1,200. But what I want you to do in your groups is talk about what you do, if you're happy to do that, what you believe is so see where you're pricing, what you think is right for this, for year-end accounts. We're going to have about 5 minutes on this, and then we'll go into the groups. But also look at the strategies and things that you might want to do. So if you don't mind just going into groups, we're going to just start, if you just bear with me just 1 second. because you're going to just move on to the next one, which is bookkeeping. So I'm going to move on a bit quicker on this one, only because we don't have as much time left. But this is just the bookkeeping. So it ranges, I did it on 50 transactions because it's difficult to know what to do. So we had 2 people doing it hourly between 35 and 36, so that seems about right to me, you know, on an hourly rate. And then you've got 50 to 250 per month, depending on, you know, what. So we had 3 at 50, 4 at 100, and 2 at 200. Now I'm doing it on transaction. You guys can talk about however you want it, but some people are packaging it as well for the year-end accounts. We had that on the table here. So it depends how you do it, but even if you are packaging it, you need to make sure you have which I believe you had as well, was you have an idea of what the price is going to be for the limited accounts, for the payroll stuff, even if you're not showing it to your client, because otherwise you don't know when you should be increasing it on the different packages that you've got, especially confirmation statements, because all those prices in this house have gone up. If you go away and have a chat about this, we are going to be a bit quicker this time, because otherwise I won't get through the rest. Okay, thank you. Right, so we're going to move on to the pricing for that. I'm going to have to go quicker because of the time. So the pricing for that, I've done it on turnover again, that's what I asked. Again, we had 2 by the hour, which is, I sort of went down 30 to 35, so I'm not quite sure. I might have got that wrong on the data, I'm not sure. But so companies over 50k range from 75 to 500. I did it per quarter. So we charge per month. I know David charges per month, and probably Kim does, I'm guessing. But so I just upped it up to a quarter. And then these are the pricings. Obviously 100k, it goes up. And it's like I'm hearing that it depends on the complexity. It always does. But this is just a range. And also if you've got a number of bank accounts, all that, you know, from the bookkeeping and PayPal, I hate PayPal, I used to, but all that. So have a quick chat about this, and then we're going to go on to the last one after this, which is self-assessment. Right, we're going to just move on to the next one. The last one is, oh no, it's not the last one. Oh gosh, you're going to have to go very quick. It's payroll. So this is payroll. So we're going to do this very quickly. I'm actually going to stay on the stage, we're going to do it so quick. Because I just want to do the self-assessment as well. So just have a quick look at that. You know, it ranges from £12.50 to £50 per payslip, which I think is amazing. And then, you know, you've got there's 5 between £12.50 to £17.50, and then 4 at 20. So that sort of seems to be the main ones. And then at 5 payslips, you can see here, we did have one who charged an extra for, what was it, the pension regulator stuff. Yeah. So there's an extra fee for that. I think you do. Well, you do that, because I get you to do our payroll. But so on this, yeah, just have a quick talk about that, and then we're going to go into self-assessment. Okay, so the last one, self-assessments. So self-assessments here. So just on the payroll, I know like Lorraine was just talking about she's outsourcing things payroll sorters. So some of you may outsource it, so then you're making a margin on that as well. So it's quite good doing that. With this, I think these are the slides that I think you will get these as well. But if not, just let me know, DM me on LinkedIn, and I can send you these anyway. But so have a quick chat about this as well, and then I've got to finish up. So it's just about self-assessments, 100 to 500 per month, per annum. Good for self-assessment per month. And then you've got, so with dividends and payslip and rental income, so you've got a difference here as well. So that's just, I meant that just to be one rental income, so bear that in mind there. Some people have sort of thought it might be more than 4220, but what we do is we charge £75, and some might be slightly more with inflation per rental income, and that, I got that from David years ago. So you add that on top of whatever. So if they've got 4 rental incomes, it'd be 4 times 75 or 5 or whatever. Yeah. So have a quick chat about that, and then we'll come to the end because we're running out of time. Right, I think we're going to have to finish, I'm afraid. Am I out? Alright guys, so I think we're going to have to finish just because of the time. So we've just done the group discussion. I don't think there's any time for Q&A, so well, you've been talking to each other. So that was just in case we ran out of time. Although we had too much time. But this is the key takeaway. So this is what we talked about. You guys have talked about loads of different things as well, which is brilliant to hear. Ones I've actually managed to hear, so that's brilliant. Do try and think about ways to check if you're not on pricing, and get some strategies in there if you're not, and do compound. Those are the two things I'd take away here. You know, so you actually know what you're doing, and make sure every year you're doing compounding. Now, I like to finish on a quote as well. So don't fall into the irresistible trap of setting low prices. And I love that. So don't set low prices, because we do, because we think we don't take long doing it. And then it will kill your business cold. Low prices attract cheap customers with luxurious demands. That's Matt Jude, who's like, just bear that in mind. Right, well, thank you. Do you want to
Brilliant. Nikolai, thank you very much. Let's show another